There comes a time in life when the roles between parents and children begin to shift. You spend decades raising them, teaching them, sacrificing your time, your money, your energy, just so they can have a better future. And then, one day you realize something feels different. Maybe your phone doesn't ring as often. Maybe when you give advice, they brush it off or change the subject. Maybe they roll their eyes when you speak. Or worse, they talk down to you as if you have nothing valuable left to share. For many parents over 60, this is one of the hardest realities to face. Not the physical aches of aging, but the emotional ache of feeling invisible in the eyes of your own children. You may ask yourself, after all I've done for them, why do I feel ignored? That pain can turn into frustration, even anger. You might want to remind them of the years you worked late to pay for their education, the countless nights you stayed awake when they were sick, the sacrifices you made so they could live their dreams. But here's the truth. Anger doesn't bring back respect. It usually pushes it further away. Instead, the key is to change the way you respond. Respect is not something you demand with raised voices. It's something you inspire through your actions and presence. And in this video, we'll uncover 6 essential steps every parent over 60 must take when their children start to ignore them. These steps are simple but powerful shifts that can completely transform your relationship, not through arguments or guilt, but through quiet strength and dignity. Stay with me until the end, because by the time we finish, you will not only understand why this happens, but you will also know how to reclaim your rightful place as a respected, valued parent in your family's life. One of the biggest mistakes parents make as they grow older is chasing after their children's approval. You bend over backward to please them, hoping they'll appreciate your sacrifices. You rearrange your schedule to fit theirs, say yes when you truly want to say no, and swallow your feelings to avoid conflict. You tell yourself, if I just give more, maybe they'll love me more. Maybe they'll respect me again. But the painful truth is this. The more you chase their approval, the less respect you receive. Respect doesn't come from self-sacrifice. It comes from self-respect. When you constantly give in, what you're teaching them is that your needs come second. And once they believe that, they start taking you for granted. I once knew a woman named Margaret. In her younger years, she was strong, confident, and independent. But as she got older, she let her children make every decision for her. She rearranged her life around their needs, silenced her opinions, and tolerated their dismissive tone. She told herself she was keeping the preturn. But what really happened? Her children stopped valuing her. They stopped asking for her input. They saw her as someone who would always adjust, always agree, always stay silent. If your children don't respect you, the first step is not to beg or demand. It's to stop acting like you need their approval to matter. Start respecting yourself first. Set boundaries. Say no when you need to. Speak your mind, even if they disagree. Because when you treat yourself with dignity, your children will begin to see you differently, and in time, that respect will return. When your children dismiss your opinions or speak to you without respect, your first instinct might be to fight back. You want to remind them of everything you've done, to raise your voice, to prove that you still matter. But here's the reality. Arguing never brings respect. In fact, it often does the opposite. Think about it. When was the last time someone truly respected you because you won an argument with them? Respect doesn't come from shouting louder. It comes from presence, calmness, and the way you carry yourself, even in difficult situations. I once knew a man named Frank, a retired teacher who spent his life leading classrooms with confidence. Yet at home, his adult children often treated him like an afterthought. They ignored his advice, laughed off his concerns, and even interrupted him mid-sentence. At first, Frank fought back. He argued, he scolded, he reminded them of his authority. But the more he argued, the less they listened. One day, Frank made a choice. Instead of fighting, he started listening. He stopped demanding respect with words and instead carried himself with quiet dignity. He spoke calmly, never desperate for their approval. Over time, something changed. His children noticed. They saw a man who didn't need to argue to prove his worth. They saw strength, not weakness. And slowly, they began respecting him again. The lesson is clear. If your children disrespect you, don't lower yourself to their level. Don't meet anger with anger. Instead, show them what respect looks like through your own behavior. Speak with confidence, keep your dignity, and lead by example. Because respect earned through presence lasts far longer than respect forced through words. This is one of the hardest lessons for parents to accept. You cannot depend on your children for your emotional fulfillment. Of course, you love them deeply. Of course, you want them to call, to visit, to show affection. But when your happiness depends entirely on their attention, you put them in control of your self-worth. And that shift can be dangerous. People, yes, even your own children, respect those who are emotionally independent. When you rely on them for validation or constant affection, they feel pressured. Instead of gratitude, they may feel burdened. And that burden can lead to impatience, irritation, or distance. I remember a woman named Helen. She gave her whole life to her children, and when they grew older and busier, she found herself waiting by the phone. When they didn't call, she called them. Too often. She reminded them how much she missed them, how lonely she felt, how she wished they visited more. But instead of drawing them closer, it pushed them away. Her calls became something they dreaded, not something they cherished. Then Helen made a shift. She stopped waiting for the phone to ring. She stopped begging for attention. Instead, she picked up new hobbies, spent time with friends, and focused on her own happiness. Something surprising happened. Her children started calling more. They respected her time because she respected herself. The truth is simple. The less you depend on your children to feel needed, the more they will value you. When they see that you have your own joy, your own life, and your own strength, they will admire you, not out of obligation, but out of genuine respect. One of the biggest reasons children stop respecting their parents is because the parents allow it. Respect is not only about love, it's also about limits. If you allow your children to interrupt you, dismiss your opinions, or speak to you in ways that cut deep, then over time, they will continue to do so. Not because they are bad people, but because that is what human nature does. People treat you according to what you accept. Setting boundaries doesn't mean fighting with your children or cutting them off. It doesn't mean creating endless conflict or holding grudges. Boundaries are simply your way of saying, this is what I will accept, and this is what I will not. And here's the most important part. You must enforce them calmly and consistently. I knew a man named Robert, a retired businessman who once ran his company with confidence and discipline. But at home, with his grown children, he lost that firmness. They often dismissed his opinions, interrupted him during conversations, and even criticized how he chose to live his retirement. At first, Robert stayed silent. He told himself, "It's not worth the fight. They're my children. Let them be." But what he didn't realize was that every moment of silence was teaching them a lesson. This behavior is acceptable. One day, Robert decided to make a change. When his son interrupted him, Robert calmly said, "I'll continue speaking when you're ready to listen." When his daughter dismissed his opinion, he responded, "You don't have to agree with me, but I expect you to respect me." He never raised his voice, never argued. He simply held his ground with quiets required. And when his children pushed the line further, Robert made it clear, "If you can't treat me with basic respect, I won't continue this conversation." At first, his children resisted. They were shocked. This was not the passive father they had grown used to. But over time, they adjusted. They began listening more carefully. They stopped interrupting. They realized their father valued himself enough to demand respect, and because of that, they gave it. The truth is this: if you don't set boundaries, your children won't set them for you. If you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will. And boundaries, when enforced with calm dignity, do not create distance. They create clarity. They show your children exactly where the line is drawn, and they teach them that love and respect must go hand in hand. So ask yourself today, what behaviors have you been tolerating that you shouldn't? Where do you need to draw the line? Because every time you allow disrespect to go unchecked, you're silently teaching your children that it's acceptable. And every time you calmly enforce a boundary, you're teaching them a different, more powerful lesson. That respect is not optional, it is required. As parents, we are naturally givers. We give our time, our energy, our support, and often our money. We do it out of love, out of duty, and sometimes simply out of habit. But here's the uncomfortable truth. When you continue giving to people who don't appreciate it, you are not building respect. You are building entitlement. Think about it. If every time your children need something, you rush to provide it, and if every time they expect your help, you immediately say yes, what message are you sending? Over time, they stop seeing your generosity as a gift. Instead, they see it as something guaranteed, something they don't need to acknowledge because it's always there. And when that happens, your kindness loses its value. I once knew a man named George. He was a father who always put his children first. If they needed money, he opened his wallet. If they needed help moving, he dropped everything to assist them. If they needed advice, he gave it, whether they asked or not. At first, he felt proud. He believed his children would see his endless support as love. But what happened instead? They complained when he couldn't give more. They forgot to say thank you. And when George finally needed help himself, his children were too busy. Then George made a choice. He stopped giving automatically. He stopped bending over backward every time a request came. He started saying no when he needed to. And something remarkable happened. His children began to value his efforts. They noticed when he did help. They realized his generosity was not endless, it was meaningful. The lesson here is simple. Generosity without appreciation is wasted energy. If you feel your children don't respect your time, your effort, or your resources, step back. Ask yourself, am I giving more than I should? And what would happen if I stopped? Because when you teach your children that your kindness is conditional on respect, they will begin to treat it with the value it deserves. And instead of being taken for granted, you will be appreciated once again. One of the most powerful ways to regain your children's respect is to show them that your happiness doesn't depend entirely on them. As parents, it's natural to spend decades pouring everything into your children, your time, your energy, even your identity. But when you reach your 60s and beyond, something important changes. Your children now have their own lives, their own families, their own responsibilities. And if you continue making them the center of your world, they may begin to see you not as strong and independent, but as someone who has no life apart from them. Here's the truth. People respect those who live with purpose. If your children see you waiting by the phone, depending on them for entertainment or meaning, they may feel pressured, or even suffocated. But if they see you pursuing your own interests, building your own joy, and living fully, they will not only admire you, but they'll also want to be around you more. I once met a woman named Eleanor, a widow in her late 70s. After her husband passed away, she poured everything into her children. She called constantly, offered advice they didn't ask for, and expected them to fill the empty space in her heart. But instead of drawing them closer, it pushed them away. Her children's visits became shorter, their calls less frequent, and Eleanor felt lonelier than ever. Then she made a change. She joined a local book club. She began traveling with friends. She volunteered at a community center, teaching younger women skills she had mastered over the years. Slowly, she stopped making her children the center of her existence. And something incredible happened. Her children started reaching out more. They were curious about her activities, impressed by her independence, and proud of her spirit. Instead of pity, they felt respect. The lesson is this: don't just exist, live. Build a life outside of your children. Explore hobbies, nurture friendships, serve your community, and continue growing as a person. When your children see you thriving, they will respect you, not because you demanded it, but because you inspire it. So ask yourself today, do my children see me as someone waiting for their attention, or as someone with a full and meaningful life of my own? The answer to that question may change everything. Respect from your children is not something you can demand. You cannot raise your voice, list all your sacrifices, and force them to honor you. Respect doesn't work that way. It's not a prize you shout for. It's a natural response you inspire by the way you carry yourself. Let's reflect on the 6 essential steps we've uncovered. 1. Stop chasing their approval. The more you beg to be seen, the more invisible you become. Respect yourself first, and they will follow. 2. Don't argue. Lead by example. Fighting only weakens your voice. Calm strength and dignity speak louder than any argument. 3. Withdraw emotional dependence. When you cling too tightly, your children pull away. When you stand strong on your own, they admire you. 4. Set boundaries and enforce them. Every no you speak with calm certainty teaches your children how to treat you. Silence only trains them to continue disrespect. 5. Stop giving without appreciation. Endless giving without gratitude creates entitlement, not love. Your generosity must be valued to matter. 6. Build a life outside of them. When you live with joy and purpose beyond your children, they see you not as a burden, but as an inspiration. Together, these steps form a powerful truth. The less you try to force respect, the more naturally it returns. So, if you've felt ignored, dismissed, or even belittled by your children, I want you to hear this. You are not powerless. You don't need to accept a role of invisibility. You still have the ability to reshape the way your family sees you. Not through anger, not through guilt, but through strength, dignity, and independence. Imagine this, Instead of waiting for a phone call, you are out living your life and your children call because they want to, not because they feel obligated. Instead of arguments, your conversations are filled with calm respect. Instead of being taken for granted, your efforts are met with gratitude. This is not just a dream, it's a reality you can create, step by step. Respect is not given because you demand it. It's given because you embody it. And when you do, your children will see you not as someone waiting for their approval, but as someone who commands respect simply by being who you are. If you've made it this far, I want to pause for a moment and recognize you. Not everyone who feels ignored by their children is willing to reflect, to learn, and to take steps toward change. The fact that you are here, listening, shows that you care deeply about your dignity, your relationships, and your future. That already makes you different. That already makes you strong. Now I want to hear from you. Think back to the 6 steps we discussed today. Which one stood out the most to you? Was it the idea of setting boundaries for the first time in years? Was it realizing that you may need to stop chasing approval? Or maybe it was the powerful reminder to build a life outside of your children, to rediscover your own independence. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Even if it's just one sentence, your words matter. And let me tell you why. When you share, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping thousands of other parents who will read your comment and realize they're not alone. They will see your courage, your honesty, and they will find strength in it. That's the beauty of this community. We lift each other up. And while you're here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Why? Because this channel is not just about giving you advice. It's about walking with you on this journey of aging with dignity, wisdom, and strength. Every week, we release videos designed to inspire, to inform, and to remind you that your life still holds meaning, purpose, and joy. By subscribing, you're not just supporting us, you're supporting yourself by ensuring you never miss the guidance that could change your tomorrow. Finally, if you found this video helpful, consider sharing it with a friend, a sibling, or anyone who may also feel unseen by their family. Sometimes, one video, one message, one reminder can make all the difference in someone's life. So take a moment right now. Comment your thoughts, subscribe for more, and share this message with someone who needs it. Together, we can create a world where aging is not a journey into invisibility, but a season filled with respect, value, and deep connection. As we come to the end of this message, I want you to take a deep breath and let these words sink in. You are not invisible, and you are not a burden. Your life has meaning, your voice has value, and your presence still carries weight, even if your children sometimes fail to see it. Aging is not about fading away. It is about stepping into a new kind of strength, a quieter strength, a strength that doesn't come from controlling others, but from controlling yourself, from carrying yourself with dignity, from showing the world and your family that your worth does not decrease with age, it deepens. Remember the 6 steps we talked about. These are not just strategies. They are choices you can make every single day. Choosing to stop chasing approval. Choosing not to argue but to lead by example. Choosing to build your own emotional independence. Choosing to set and enforce boundaries. Choosing to give only where there is gratitude. And choosing to live a full, rich life outside of your children. These choices will not only change how your children see you, they will change how you see yourself. And that's where true respect begins. Because the moment you respect yourself deeply, others have no choice but to follow. So tonight, as you close your eyes, don't think about what you've lost. Think about what you still have to give, not just to your children, but to yourself, to your community, to the world. You carry wisdom, experience, and a spirit that cannot be replaced. And tomorrow, when you wake up, take one small action toward living with that dignity. Maybe it's saying no when you used to say yes. Maybe it's picking up an old hobby you once loved. Maybe it's speaking your mind calmly without fear. Whatever it is, let it remind you that respect begins here, within you. Thank you for spending this time with me. Your presence here matters, and I truly hope these words have given you not just ideas, but the courage to act. If you walk away with only one thought, let it be this: you are worthy of respect. Not because of what you do, not because of what you give, but because of who you are. This is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a new chapter, one where you stand tall, live fully, and command the respect you deserve. Until next time, stay strong, stay dignified, and never forget, your life is still a gift, and the best chapters may yet be ahead.